Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Sony PlayStation remains to this day one of my all-time favorite games. Following the legacy of its earlier Castlevania brethren, Symphony of the Night is a 2D side-scrolling adventure story pitting the fate of humanity up against the devious machinations of Transylvania's infamous Count Dracula.
Play begins with a return to the final stage of Castlevania Bloodlines, where you are thrust into the role of Richter Belmont as he makes his final approach to face off with Count Dracula in an epic duel to the death. Brandishing the Belmont's trademark whip, the battle rages on as Dracula's true form is revealed. With the aid of Maria, Richter gains the power to defeat Dracula, setting the stage for the events of Symphony of the Night to unfold. Nothing quite like an epic boss fight against a legendary villain to open a game and hook the player right from the start. Five years removed from Dracula's defeat by Richter, you step into the shoes of Alucard, Dracula's half-human son, who is determined to cleanse the world of his own cursed bloodline. Discovering that Dracula's castle, Castlevania, has mysteriously re-emerged in the night, Alucard rushes to the fortress to begin his assault. Once inside, he wastes no time making his presence known to the hapless opponents within as they fall before his blade. Right away you can see the attention to detail in the design of the background, character animations, and atmosphere of the castle. The controls are quick and responsive, and right off you feel like a force to be reckoned with. Making short work of the familiar zombie villains, you sweep through the entryway until you come face to face with Death himself. And he is none too pleased with Alucard's rebellious ways, and makes it apparent by swiping all of Alucard's weaponry and gear. Guess it's back to square one. No more force to be reckoned with here. You're left with nothing. Undaunted, you continue on with your quest to vanquish all who stand in your way as you explore the castle, face powerful foes, and gather experience, spells, and equipment. Now in no time at all, you find yourself in a fight against the game's first boss, or rather bosses, as it's a tandem of demons that you come up against. They follow a simple pattern of attack, and you'll make short work of them. Swords are Alucard's primary weapon, and you can find dozens of different ones throughout your quest. You can also equip him with shields, armor, headgear, relics, magical items, and an assortment of other more specialized equipment. Exploring the castle is great fun, and a lengthy endeavor, as you scour virtually every inch of it, from the catacombs to the library to the upper towers and chapels. The place is enormous, and varied level design and enemies throughout. It's so large, in fact, that later in the game you can actually utilize strategically placed teleporters to help you navigate through the castle, as you will return to familiar destinations in search of secrets and entrances to new areas. As Dracula's son, Alucard has superhuman strength, dark magical powers, and is a shapeshifter. You earn these powers as the game goes on, and Alucard can transform into a wolf form, mist form, and bat form. Then imbue him with additional strengths to use to discover depths and heights unknown within the castle. Leveling up is achieved through gaining experience by defeating enemies. You can also gain power-ups that increase your life and heart total. The hearts aren't associated with your vitality, but rather are a meter for using Alucard's equipped special weapon. There are 9 special weapons in total, and he can only carry one at a time. My personal favorite is the axe, since it's perfect for engaging flying enemies. But I would also recommend trying out all the different specials, as they are quite varied in their uses, and you can tailor them specifically to your own personal fighting style. Special items include a clock that allows you to freeze time and in turn your opponents, or other projectile weapons, burning holy water, magical crosses, and alike. You can find a relic that actually allows you to double jump, and if you look very closely, you notice Alucard actually has wings appear whenever you use it. Just another cool detail that the game makers put in there when they were designing the game. Other things you'll discover around the castle include an elevator you can activate. It certainly doesn't look like it has been inspected by a professional in a long time, and Alucard's response to it certainly gives that impression. Secrets are scattered throughout the map, and you can often break down walls to reveal hidden rooms containing rare weapons, armor, and relics. In addition to all the armaments already described, you may have noticed that Alucard can get familiars that travel with him and aid him in battle, such as a bat, a ghost, sword, fairy, and demon. Saving is done on a memory card, but only at specific save points on the map that very appropriately come in the form of a coffin for Alucard. In great storytelling fashion, you can even bribe Dracula's master librarians to sell you special items and tactics for defeating the monsters and bosses found within Castlevania. Which takes us to our next topic, the bosses. Dracula has assembled a wide variety of mythological monsters and beasts to inhabit his castle, and it's your job to take them down one, or often two or more at a time. Boss battles are showdowns, where as you clear the area in a castle, you stumble into a room and it seals behind you, and you cannot escape the boss's clutches and are forced to fight. Boss opponents include, but are by no means limited to, a Minotaur, Cerberus, Griffins, Mummies, a Doppelganger, Magicians, and even Beelzebub himself. Although the matchup that stands out most in my mind is for this boss called the Grand Falloon. It is this enormous sphere of the damned, and it's made up of all these bodies that fall off as you try and battle the parasite underneath it. I mean, it's just an epic, epic fight. In between slaying monsters and leveling up, you learn more about the plot by bumping into Maria, who is also exploring the castle in search of Richter, who disappeared along with the mysterious reemergence of the castle itself. You also at one point enter a nightmare and relive Alucard losing his mother, who was burned at the stake. All this give you a more sense for the history of the game and the environment. There is a lot to this game, and it's an intriguing mix of action and RPG elements. Game creator Koji Igarashi was the visionary behind this new approach and was largely influenced by Super Metroid for the gameplay mechanics for Symphony of the Night, with the goal of balancing fast-paced action, epic exploration, and RPG-style growth and character expansion. Combine that with the CD-quality musical score, hours of gameplay, and one of the best surprises in gaming history that I won't spoil here, make it a natural selection for the pantheon of games in my humble opinion. The endgame involves a showdown between Alucard and his father Dracula. If I had one gripe about this game, it is with the voice acting on the English version. As you can tell, it is straight from a B movie, and that is not necessarily a good thing. But don't for a second let that stop you from enjoying this classic. Tons of secrets await you as you explore the world of Castlevania. Some of my favorite bonuses or special features include this item you can purchase from the Master Librarian called the Duplicator. Well equipped, it affords you an infinite supply of rare, one-time use items. To say, summon an army of warriors, or perhaps if like me you enjoy some good food now and again, you can use your meal ticket item and you can actually make tons of food items appear. There's also a lot of magic to uncover, including the sword with which you can summon skeleton warriors to fight alongside you.
It really is hard to find a lot of fault with this game. It's one of my favorites of all time, and I just really enjoy playing it. I've actually recently picked up a copy of Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles, which actually features Symphony of the Night as well as its precursor game, Castlevania, the Rondo of Blood. So I'm actually really looking forward to trying that. I've never played that before. You might ask, what other Castlevanias have I played? Well, I've never played any of the 3D ones for the 64, so I can't really speak to them, but I have played through Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest on the NES. That was the first one I actually played. I've played a handful of the Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, which are awesome.
Now there was also a version of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Sega Saturn, and that actually included 3 playable characters. Alucard, of course, Richter, and Maria were all playable in that version. Now in the Sony version, you actually, after beating the game, you can rename your character Richter, and you'll have the option of playing through the game as Richter Belmont instead of Alucard, and it's much more challenging, and I'd highly recommend it for the veteran players out there, because he can't level up, and it's just a totally different experience, so definitely highly recommended. The Saturn version also featured 2 extra levels, which do not appear in the Sony version, so I'm very curious to see what those are like. So should you find yourself in the mood for a trip to Transylvania, you won't be disappointed by Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Well, that wraps up my review of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hope you enjoy it. Definitely check it out if you haven't played it before, and happy gaming. Alright, peace.